it will make us feel good, it will empower us, because then we know that we too have contributed something. Only we don't know what we contributed. I mean, anything you can think about. From these forests around us, we got a lot of medicines. I'll show you some of these medicines and what they are used for. Right here we have that big tree called Fintian. George, you have some Fintian and Precursor there, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, well, we can find some. And all these are medicinal plants that our forebears used. And then you ask yourself, well, who taught them that these trees and plants have medicinal properties? Well, it means there were people who searched and searched and searched and discovered so many things that will surprise us. But there were people who were very determined, people who kept on exploring, and through the explorations they discovered so many things. Now, those of us living today are not aware of the numerous things they discovered, and so we are easily awed by the discoveries of others. Well, if humanity began here and this is the home of mankind or humankind, then of course all that human beings know today originate from here. I mean, everything else is just an embellishment, you know, but the simple metal implements that our ancestors invented has been, of course, through industrialization and sophistication, you know, become something else, but it's still the same simple instruments which we use to overcome our environment. And so the whole world practically owes us a living, and the credit that is due us hasn't been given to us. But we don't have to wait for others to give us the credit. We must claim the credit ourselves by studying our culture, going deep into the past. Because after all, who wants, you know, these Europeans want to find out or discover only the things that go to inflate their egos. And we can't settle for the Europeans to tell us everything. It is our responsibility to search. It's there. It's there to be discovered by us, because we are the ones who need the information. They don't. When they see what is good about our past in the history, they cover it up, or they pass by, you know. But we are the ones to whom this heritage belongs, and so I have suggested that Africans in the diaspora and Africans on the continent should begin to cooperate in this common search for our origins, the contributions, the achievements of the past. I've always likened this to the sun shining behind you. And when the sun is behind you, your body casts a shadow in front of you, you see. And I think that if we delve into our past, which becomes like the sun behind us, we will cast a shadow way into the future. And I'm glad that there's this awakening coming towards the end of the 20th century. And if we really make use of this awakening, you see, we are casting a shadow into the 21st century, and it's ahead of us. So we mustn't look on the past as something shameful or, you know, that we want to dissociate ourselves with, because I believe that our strength comes from our past. That's where our strength is coming from. And if we ignore our past, it will be like a pilot trying to fly without a compass. What's going to guide us? You see? So we need to embrace our past, which will give us the strength to move into the future. And I mean to say this, that the Africans in the diaspora need to know that they are not alone, that they didn't begin with slavery. Otherwise, you are cutting a large chunk of it. What is 500 years in history? We've been here for millions of years, and it's true, we've lived here for millions, more than we can count. You see, when Leakey discovered his skulls and skeletons in the Olduvai Gorge and dated them 3 million years, I said, well, fine, if 3 million is all they can count, you just give it to them. But our ancestors knew they've been here for longer than 3 million years, more than we can count. And we have to get this perspective. And of course, it's not that we slept through history. We were creating and inventing all the time. All the time. There was never a dull moment. I tell you about these elephant hunters who were hunting with bows and arrows. Can you imagine? Now the elephant is a ferocious creature, huge creature, which can trample any hunter to death. Now, they were only using bows and arrows. And with bows and arrows, you had to get very close to this creature who has a very strong sense of smell. So how did they do it? Because there are only two parts of the elephant's body that you can hurt, through the eyes and through the ears. Those are the only two soft spots on the elephant's body. If you shoot the arrow into the belly, you're just wasting your arrows. It won't penetrate. So our forebears came up with two plants, and they mixed them up and pounded them and smeared the whole body, including the nostrils and the ears. Then the elephants couldn't smell them. All they had to do was to prevent the elephant from seeing them, and so they could hide behind the grasses and behind the trees and get very close and then shoot through the eye. Now, if I, standing 2 feet away, kill an elephant, and you with a stand gun stand 50 feet, which of the two is the braver, and which of the two is the hunter? I with a bow and arrow, I'm the hunter. Not the one who stands 500 feet and just pulls a trigger and says, I'm a hunter. No, the bold man is the one who was 2 feet away. Let the man fold his gun and get 2 feet to the creature. See whether he can even fire his gun. The elephant will trample on the gun and break it into pieces. So, see, our people are very courageous.
You were talking about medicine, too.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of medicines. And some of the medicines, actually, our people learned by observing animals treat each other. We have a very powerful snake bite. And the story behind that snake bite, anti-snake bite medicine, is that a hunter, and I know the descendants of this hunter, they live on the Kwao Hills, going to Kumasi, you know, when you get in Koko and you see those rocky mountains up there. And this hunter was in the forest hunting, and he was resting under a tree when he suddenly saw two snakes fighting, and one of them bit the other, and it lay still. Then he saw the victorious snake looking round. He went and plucked a leaf and came in his mouth and stuck it into the mouth of the snake that was lying still. And immediately that snake was revived. So this hunter killed the snake, and he looked at the leaf and he immediately could identify it and made some medicine out of it, you know. And to this day, you can be bitten by 10 cobras. All you do is you lick a little bit of it, and you have the antidote to the poison. And so a lot of hunters, whenever they go to the forest, they always have this. If they accidentally step on a snake, they immediately lick it, and that neutralizes the poison. Now, these are people who were educated. And education simply means the ability to cope with your environment. So they knew the environment. I'll show you this, this plant here. We call this abrototo. Let me get a, yeah. You see, we call this abrototo. And we always grow this in the fence around the house. If you have a cat, if you are a cat, say in the kitchen, you just walk to the fence and pluck the abrototo and let the juice fall on the wound, and it immediately stops bleeding. Immediately. This is it, abrototo. That's how we call it. In fact, that's why I put it in this fence, because I'm trying to do what our ancestors did. When they built fences around their houses, they would go and cut trees that are medicinal and put them right in the house. you see, so that if there's an accident or something, there's always a particular tree. I have it down here, not in the fence. Now, this is always in the fence in the house. And when you see a pregnant goat or sheep, you see, chewing the bark of this tree, you know it's about to deliver, because there is something in the bark of that tree which prevents excessive bleeding after delivery. And then when the placenta is delayed, they will pound this medicine, the bark of the tree, give some to the woman to drink, and insert the other, and within half an hour, the placenta will come out by itself. And this was right in the home. Of course, they have lived here for millions of years, so at least one would expect that they would know a little bit about the environment. They knew a lot, but when the Europeans came, they felt, oh, these people didn't know anything.
You were talking about honey.
Yeah. We use, you know, our medicine men have a lot of knowledge. Now, for years they've been using honey for treating ulcers and wounds, deep cuts. And there was a doctor in Nigeria who decided to just pursue this and find out what is in this honey. And he subjected the honey to scientific investigation and found that honey is hygroscopic. In other words, it absorbs moisture. And so by applying honey on an open wound, the honey absorbs the moisture and deprives the bacteria of food, and they just die. And the wound, the skin recovers. And when he published this article, you know, he was hailed as the great man who discovered it, but he didn't discover it. It was the so-called witch doctors who made the discovery millions and millions of years ago. And 2 years ago, there was a Chinese doctor who came out with an ointment, an ointment for burns. And they showed pictures of the burned skin and the skin that had been restored, and you couldn't see any scar. And he wouldn't disclose the contents. Only one thing he would mention, and he said it contained honey. And you see, Africa, China, we know this already. And there are some trees, one tree, for instance, that we use as a chewing stick for cleaning the teeth. It does not only prevent tooth decay and keep the mouth fresh, but there's some alkaloid in that tree that reverses a sickle cell. You see, now you would ask, well, who taught these people? Well, for years we've had, or for centuries, you know, people in the tropics, Africans, have had the sickle cell disease. And so somebody made that discovery thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, that there was something in this chewing stick which was able to reverse a sickle cell. And when the doctors in Ibadan, in Nigeria, came upon this, and they were taught by a herbalist, I've met that herbalist before, they extracted this alkaloid and gave it to sickle cell patients, and all of them were able to go out of crisis. Now, so when people got up in the morning and were just brushing or cleaning their teeth, they were also at the same time taking care of their sickle cell disease. Isn't this marvelous? It's incredible. It's incredible.